Hello everyone, welcome to the Aspire for Impact seminars. Today we're holding our very last seminar, which is the third one for the FTC within the topic of engineering notebook writing techniques. And this is a collaboration project within the 6 impact panelist teams throughout the previous years. And let's take a look at today's reminders. These meetings will be recorded, and if you ask any questions through the chat box, if you like to unmute yourself, your name and your video might be displayed in the recording. And these recordings will be shared on our social media accounts such as YouTube and Instagram. Your name will be displayed during the seminar. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We are here to guide you. And as you know, we hold the seminars every Sunday, 2 p.m. EST. This is our last one. And let's hear from today's presenter teams. We have 6429 Fourth Dimension, which is 2022 and 2024 finalist team. I'm Ceren.
I'm Ela.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Bora.
And today's subtopic is tips and tricks from Fourth Dimension. So a quick reminder, my teammates are going to remind you as well. We are the first FTC team. We actually started the first FTC team in the Turkey region. So as we learned from our mentors and past team members, here are tips and tricks that we believe that might be helpful or that can guide you in your FTC journey.
Hello again. So as Ceren said, we are the founder of the first FTC team on Turkey. And when starting to write your engineering notebook, the first thing we should start with is a team summary. Here, you should introduce your team with some basic information such as your establishment, where do you come from, or when did your team started. This kind of basic information will give you a more sincere approach from the beginning. And then share your work style and schedule. Giving inside knowledge about your layout will make a better appearance. For example, you can talk about how often your teams works together or the route you follow during the design stage. And lastly, show your strategy. Your strategy and vision on the robot is one of the most essential parts of the engineering notebook. Sharing steps of the robot should be precise. Your route, your tactics, or a specific improvement during a stage, they all matter in the engineering notebook. And then the team scheme. In the team scheme, another important part of the engineering notebook, which is your team roles and how you participate, is introduced. It outlines team roles, responsibilities, communications, or how you collaborate. Don't forget, during competition, everyone is expected to work together on various fields, but still everybody can have a main role. This helps judges understand how your team functions effectively throughout the season. When creating your team scheme, focus on everybody's stronger fields. This will give you a more right approach.
I want to talk about why outreach matters and how we can strengthen it to create real, meaningful impact. Effective outreach should be strategic. It is not enough to be visible. You must be intentional about who you reach and why you chose to reach them. Many teams rely on passive exposure rather than active management and engagement. So they end up reaching the same audiences repeatedly instead of expanding their access. Your team should not only target those who already have resources or awareness and knowledge about certain topics. You should consider language barriers, geographic limitations, and socioeconomic factors when designing programs. True impact will come from reducing these gaps. One of the most effective ways to increase your team's outreach is by using diverse channels. Digital platforms such as social media, websites, and even emailing will allow you to reach larger audiences quickly. However, we find partnerships to be equally critical. Collaborating with schools, organizations, and community groups will also allow you to access existing networks. Sustainability is also crucial. Short term campaigns may generate attention, but without long term planning, they quickly lose momentum. Effective outreach strategies are designed to grow through systems that can be maintained even as your team evolves. How you communicate is just as important. Your team's outreach should be targeted and audience focused. It should have clear messaging and, like we already talked about, interactive content. These traits will help people understand what you do and why it matters for them specifically. In conclusion, outreach is an ongoing process of listening and connecting. When done thoughtfully, it transforms awareness into involvement and ideas into lasting impact.
So, hi everyone again. I'm going to talk about the team sponsors and how you can apply them to the engineering notebook. So, in FTC and the business world in general, sponsorship has two critical parts. One is finding them, and the other is sustaining them, so keeping them. So for finding sponsors, teams should start locally. This means you should reach out to some of these small startups or small businesses in your area, in your region, because they tend to support student projects more than the big companies. And when you're approaching a new sponsor, you have to explain what FTC is before asking for support. So you should approach them as in this order. So you should first say who you are, like who you are as a team, and then what you do, what is this FTC competition, and generally talk about what you're doing, what you're trying to do, what's your mission. And then you would be able to find pretty good sponsors. And then you have to also show impact, not just needs. So you shouldn't say, we need blah, blah, blah dollars. You should show your impact. So you should instead say, with blah, blah dollars, we can make this happen and reach X students. And then once you find your sponsors, it's very important that you also sustain them because long-term sponsorships comes from communication. So you have to keep in touch with these sponsors. So when you receive the grant for them from them or receive the money from them, you have to keep in touch with them during the season and after the competition to give them a feedback about how we manage their money and how it impacted our impact on the world. And then you have to also include these sponsors' logos in like thank you posts, logos on t-shirts, or season updates. But also you should give a place to these logos in your engineering notebook to show how many sponsors you have, what are those companies, and how much they paid you in generally. So we can pass on to the next slide. And then also let's come to the layout of the document part. Judges don't read documents for fun. They read them to understand your thinking. And a good layout guides the judge step by step through your season. And there are some key points that you should use in your document. So I think the first off, the most important one is not over explaining things in big paragraphs or under explaining things in really short sentences. So you have to keep a balance in your sentences and your paragraphs in order to fit them in the given gaps. And also you can use visuals over long text if you really need to explain a lot of stuff. And then you should also highlight your decisions and iterations. And yeah, let's pass on to the next slide. So the engineering notebook has six pages, and I'm going to go over them quickly. So the first one is team brainstorming and decision making. So you have to start with understanding the problem And this is like we begin with a clear problem definition tied to our team goals and break it down so every part is understood. And then you have to brainstorm and decision making, as said in this one. So we brainstorm many ideas, lists pros and cons, and align them with the design criteria. So you can also see under it says idea, pros and cons. And then also some teams prefer not to include cons, so they make it seem like that idea is actually perfect, but actually writing the cons is as important as the idea itself and its pros because it shows that you really evaluated that idea fairly. And also, then comes the decision matrix part. We use a decision matrix with scores and weights to choose the strongest solution objectively and not randomly. And then there's the project management part where you keep track of tasks and deadlines. So we stayed organized all season. So you can see here, this shows the team member, the task, its priority, progress, deadline, and if it's done or not. And this project management table actually really helps teams stay organized in their season. And then we can also pass on to the next slides as well. We have the test documentation part. So each test task is documented with drawings, decisions, and lessons. So judges see why we did that and what we did in that project. And then also there's testing. So finally, testing records help show iteration, and we observe, learn, and improve based on real test data. So it's robot action, observation and notes, suggestions for improvement, and as I said in the other slide, suggesting improvements and also demonstrating the cons of an idea is actually really important because it shows that you can evaluate your ideas fairly. And then also there's design criteria status. And then the testing is done. And then, as I said, in understanding the problem, you go over these five lines and you can use visuals or lines, whatever you want in this area. And then, yeah, that's it. I think that's all you should know about the engineering notebook. No, so as I said in the other slides, the decision matrix has criteria, its weights. So we give them a score based on how important it is and how like critical it is. And in the test documentation part, it's where your team can stay organized. And
As we approach to the end, we would like to thank all of the participants, presenters, and viewers or audience participating or benefiting from the Aspire for Impact seminars. We genuinely thank you. It's been a long journey. I think it's been more than 2 months, but I would like to celebrate that we have executed 3 FRC, 3 FLL, and 3 FTC seminars throughout this journey, and there's a really big hard work done within the collaboration of other teams. Yeah,